Welcome, fellow historians, to another episode of Fireside Chat. Mr. Nesossi here, and hoping that you are doing quite well. I've got the matcha green tea this evening, which is wonderful to warm the heart and the soul and the throat on these days of which I've been doing a lot of talking, but important talking to help you understand what is going to be before us in the days and weeks ahead. Just to briefly recap, I have graded, in quotation marks, looked over, reviewed your Canvas check-ins. And so I thank you all for getting that taken care of. And I did respond to every single one of you. Spent a rather long amount of time because I've got nothing but time on my hands to respond to you and hear your story, to read your story, I guess I should say, and understanding what it is that you're going through. And one of the big consistencies that I read was the significant amount of boredom. And one of the challenges that we're having as teachers right now is trying to keep you motivated in these days and weeks ahead, but also not overburdening you. I have to realize you've got a lot going on. And so we'll talk about how you're going to manage that, how you're going to balance your personal life at home along with your life now that school is starting to get ramped up in the days and weeks ahead. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and just minimize myself. I'm going to put myself into a small screen. I'm going to bring up a PowerPoint or our display that we normally have here in class that you'd be very familiar with, and see if you can see that there. And there's the Zoom meeting, and there is the display. And hopefully that now shows you being welcomed to a push online. It looks like that is the case. Excellent. So without further ado, let's get started. I got a remind message from one of our fellow historians from Vice News that kind of showed what is going on right now historically. It is important for us to see the historical context of what's happening outside of your home, outside of our community here in Katy, and what is really occurring on a global scale. I pause because of the gravity of what we've been witnessing with this COVID-19 pandemic, and just thinking to myself that we are really living through history. We are in the midst of history. And so it will be very difficult in the years ahead, perhaps for the rest of our lives, to ever forget what these most uncertain days were like. Much like the people who have come before us, remembering either the Great Depression or the various world wars, we too, generationally, will remember these most trying days. And so it is very important that you, as a young person engaging this world, understand that we will get through this, that grades will get figured out, that your GPA will get figured out. Colleges aren't going anywhere. They're still going to need you in the next year and a half when they begin admissions. And so it's important that while you have a lot of uncertainty and you have a lot of questions, and perhaps some of you have been working and maybe have been laid off or lost your job, or are really uncertain about what your own family's future is going to be like, that it is important for us to collectively lean on each other, to collectively yearn for each other's engagement here online. Community is very important. And for us to just take a collective deep breath and realize, in the words of Bob Marley in his song, Three Little Birds, every little ting is going to be all right. So in the coming days and weeks ahead, I just want to take this moment, look at this clip that one of our fellow historians sent to me that just really shows the gravity of the situation, the pan-globalness of this pandemic. And I am just amazed at this footage. So let's pause for just a second and kind of wrap our head around the context about what's happening to us historically worldwide, and then we'll get into the calendar and what is expected of you in the days and weeks ahead. So this is Coach H. Truly a remarkable thing to be seeing as we look at the events that are unfolding globally. I mean, from Tunisia to Sydney, even here in Katy, Texas. So we're all in this together as humans. This pandemic is not seeing race, it's not seeing gender, it's not seeing socioeconomic status. It's just seeing human beings. And so, what we can do, our part, is to continue to remain socially distant, at least physically. Literally, we can, through this media, be able to communicate, but it's important to practice that social distancing so we can minimize the expanding of this pandemic. But with boredom setting in at home, I think it's important for us to take a few moments and realize that are a couple of things we need to address. First things first, as we move forward in the days and the weeks ahead. Here's what, for me, are going to be your priorities. Number one, your personal health. I cannot stress this enough. This pandemic, this virus is affecting everybody. And so I have been reading some of your comments on Canvas and hearing from some of you, and you've been gathering together at some of your friends' houses. And I would encourage you strongly to stop doing that. You have a myriad of generations in your home, and you are, by going out of that self-quarantined environment of your home, you are bringing perhaps other pathogens into your home that wouldn't normally have been there if you were following those protocols. So first and foremost, your personal health. I want you to be physically healthy, and I want you to be mentally healthy in these days and weeks ahead. You've got a variety of teachers that are going to be throwing a lot of stuff at you at once. And so I want you to be able to communicate with me, because I'm going to show you the calendar here in just a few minutes. I want you to be able to communicate with me what is too much, what is too little. Do we need to ramp it up? Do we need to back off just a little bit? So I want you to be mentally prepared for the days and weeks ahead as well. I want you to step up for your family. You're a young individual now, 11th grade, a young adult. And so I encourage you, especially if you have younger siblings and that they are engaging in online schooling, that perhaps you might help them and step in and do some tutorials with them if you're not already. Perhaps engaging in some of the chores around the house and helping your parents with that. They are probably under an immense amount of pressure, juggling their professional priorities at work, as well as ensuring that you are doing your part. And so this is an opportunity for you to not just go into your room and isolate yourself from the rest of your family, but really get involved and engaged with your family and step up. And I've been hearing from you, and many of you have been doing that. And I think that's just absolutely fantastic. I do want you to have access to a device. Our classes, starting tomorrow, are going to require that you do have access to some sort of device. But I also want you to understand that I know that there are only so many devices in your house. If you have a large family and your parents need their computers for work, that should be priority number one. What your parents are doing as far as work goes is what brings home their paycheck. So if they need the computer to do a conference call for their work, or if they need to do some business on the computer, that is priority one. Please don't interrupt your parents and say, I've got to get on this computer now because I've got to do this and get this turned in. I can move my deadlines around a lot easier than your parents can with regards to their work. So if you have access to a device and your own personal device, that's fantastic. But if you're sharing a laptop or a computer or another device with a sibling or another family member, I encourage you to share the equal burden of those devices around the house to minimize any kind of conflict. But again, the number one priority is your parents and their job and what they need to. I look at it like, for instance, if I had children in my own house and they needed to get on right now, I would be doing stuff for my work, which does also bring home a paycheck. So, device access is super important, but I want you to let me know if you're having difficulty acquiring some type of device. And KDISD does have the ability to check out a device, and I've got information that I can send to you personally if you need access to those resources as well. And I think it's very important that you establish a routine in the days and the weeks ahead. I, I'm not going to be there in your house, so I don't know if you're going to be getting up at a certain time, but I've found myself, at least in this last week, kind of going to bed whenever and kind of getting up whenever and kind of hopping in the shower whenever and eating whenever. And that kind of disharmony is really actually not stressful, but just really unsettling. And so now that we've got a calendar, fortunately, I've begun to establish a routine where I get up at a certain time, I shower and get ready. I've got this, and so I'm beginning to prepare those lessons. And so as we now work together through these moments in the calendar, that routine is going to be important. I went out for a walk, checked in with you guys on YouTube, ran into some ducks. If you haven't had a chance to see that, I encourage you to do so. But establish a routine. I think that's super important. Like you would during the normal school day. You're walking the door at 7:25. You're out the door by 2:35. If you have a normal schedule, not late arrival and early release. And when those things are established, when you've got your personal health, both physically and mentally, and you've got your family that you're focused on and you're stepping up to, and that you've got some kind of schedule that you've both established a routine and where you all have access to those devices. When those are established, we can slowly begin to engage in your schooling online. The AP exam, as we have already talked about in other previous episodes, has been reduced. So the burden of acquiring more information is now taken off of you in all of your AP classes. And so we're going to be really taking this time to just finish up period 7 and go back and deepen our understanding of periods 1 through 7. And so we have plenty of time now ahead of us to begin to slowly engage in that schooling online. And so I'm just going to put a toe in, and we're going to get ankle deep, we're going to get knee deep, we're going to get waist deep, and then finally jump into the deep end of the pool. And we'll do this piecemeal so you have a good pace from which to work with. I need you to understand that this is new to all of us, not just you, but to all of your teachers. We didn't even remotely think just 4 weeks ago that I would be sitting in my home library, microphone and AirPods at hand, discussing the future of this course with you remotely, either through April 13th or perhaps even longer. I've not heard if we're extending that date. But just looking at the news in general, um, I'm leaning a little bit more skeptically towards getting back to school in those time frames ahead. But again, it just depends on how well the country flattens that curve. And so understanding that this is new to all of us, I want to be crystal clear about variations in other classes. I understand that you might have friends in other APUSH classes or in other classes around the school. And so 100% consistency is going to be a challenging between all of the teachers. If you have a teacher that has moved ahead in one class and there's another teacher that's behind a little bit, or vice versa, you need to be patient and understanding with that. You and we might still go back and review something when another class has moved on, and your friends might be saying, well, we're working on this. And but what I think is important is that particularly all four of your APUSH teachers, and I'm not speaking for them, I'm speaking for me, we all have the same goal of helping you succeed in the days and weeks ahead. We have a simple goal of trying to mitigate your stress. We all have the same goal of trying to wrap our head around how we proceed forward through periods 1 through 7. We all have the same goal of getting you prepared for the AP exam, whatever that looks like. That 45-minute exam, that's a free response. Again, we're waiting for the College Board on that from April 3rd. But this is not an opportunity to compare and contrast other classes or to find out what other classes are doing and what we're doing. In the end, I like to look at a map that basically looks like this. We all are going to New York, not now with social distancing, particularly not now. I don't know why I picked New York as an example, since it appears to be the epicenter of the COVID-19 epidemic. But I just want you to get this visualization that, and this is not just for APUSH, this is for all your classes. If you have a friend in one AP physics class and you're in another AP physics class, I need you to be patient with us as all of your teachers are trying to get you to that goal. We're all going to get there together, but we might veer off just a little bit because I know the culture of this class and another teacher knows the culture of their class. So we all might have some variances within those classes, but we are all going to get there in the end. And so I need you to understand that and be patient with that variation as we move forward in the days and the weeks ahead. All right. So before we get into the meat of this, I want to briefly recap how our online platforms are going to work. Our online platforms are very simple. We've got delivery and we've got submissions. I'll show my hands in here. We've got delivery and we've got submissions. And so the delivery platform is very singular. It's the website. And you are very familiar with the website. Most of you have gotten in there and set up your profile. I need for the rest of you to do that, or you're going to find yourself in a challenging predicament from participating in many of the online forums. So delivery of the content, again, through mrnesossi.com. And if you notice here on mrnesossi.com, and I'll get the pointer out here, the forum link is right there. We'll have an updated calendar for you here in the coming day. In fact, I'm probably going to load up the new calendar after you guys watch this Fireside chat. And then there's the AP Classroom link, which I'll get to here in just a few minutes. And then the resources, podcast, and content have all stayed pretty much the same. Now, with regards to periods 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and so on, this will occur when we're going back and doing our chronological reviews. We're not going to be doing much work in here right now, at least in the next 2 weeks, because we're going to be finishing up period 7. And so that work is going to be done right there in the forum. So I encourage you to be using the forum moving forward. We also have the AP Classroom. Now, some of you have gotten into the AP Classroom and you've poked around in there a little bit, particularly if you were a boot camp member. But I'm going to strongly encourage, that 100% of you get into the AP Classroom. If you need the class codes again, just message me on Remind and I can get that to you, because as you're going to see on the calendar in the next few minutes, we will be using the AP Classroom's multiple choice question sections to kind of review each one of the periods. So it is rather important that you make sure you can access that AP Classroom. And lastly, the other submission. So we've got delivery, which is the website. And the area that you're going to submit information is AP Classroom, and you're also going to submit information right there in Canvas. That's it. That's the only platforms we will be using moving forward. I want to keep it super simple and super easy. And I've gotten 100% return on your submissions through Canvas. So that pipeline is open and working. So on that delivery, there's the form again, the link. I pointed at it like you can see what I'm pointing at. There's the forum link. There it is. And then you'll see underneath the forum, let me go back to my pointer here. This area is blank. So you'll see box, 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 box as it's going down. And it will be, let's say this is the Pearl Harbor lesson. This is America on the Home Front during World War II lesson. And then the next box below that will be minorities, women, Japanese and African Americans in World War II. And then the period 7 recap. And then another box for the kind of the culmination of period 7. And then we'll go back to period 1, 2, and 3 in those boxes. So again, keeping it very simple, the form which most of you have access to at this point. Now let's take a look at how you're going to be submitting what I'm going to call just submissions. I'm not even going to call them assignments because the assignment notes that it's for a grade. And right now I'll talk about grading in just a second, which is basically, I don't know. But submissions right now will be due on Sunday night at 11:59. Due in lowercase DUE. I will have you submit again in 2 places, just Canvas or in the AP Classroom. Most of your writing, in fact, all of your writing is going to be in Canvas, and all of your multiple choice submissions are going to be in AP Classroom. So those are the only 2 places that you can go to give me deliverables. And I am flexible, I am flexible, and I am flexible. I do not want you to send me an email or a remind where you're panicked and you're like, oh my God, can I get it turned in? Can I do it? Yes, of course you can, because I understand the unusual dynamic of working from home. And that's why even something like 15 multiple choice questions on AP Classroom can be turned in on Sunday night. Now, some of you are super motivated and you've got access to those devices. And as soon as I assign it, you have it turned in like an hour. That's great. I think that's fantastic. I will be checking and grading for completion, but I won't be assigning a grade to it here in just a second, because as of this discussion, I've been given no guidance from the district on what we're going to be taking for grades. And then I don't know what the weight of those grades are. Now, what will be easy for me is once the district does release what we are grading and the weight of those grades, I will simply take what you've already submitted and just plug those grades into the formula. So do not be mistaken or wooed by the fact that I'm not assigning a grade immediately. And then that will decrease your motivation for turning something in, because then when the district finally says, okay, this is what we are taking for grades and this is how those grades are going to be weighted, I'm going to simply take the deliverables that you gave me through submissions and get those plugged in. But regarding exams and quizzes and DBQs and formal writing like LAQs, again, that's all up in the air, and we're probably going to be leaning on trying to get those assessed when we are face-to-face again, hopefully in April. But if not, then we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. I've said this from the very beginning. It's short-term objectives and long-term goals. So grading and major grades and all that stuff, we'll get it figured out. That's a long-term goal. Short-term objective is we've got the platforms in place to now have online learning, and we've got the calendar that's in place for you. And there it is. It'll allow you to take a second and just kind of take it all in. We're going to walk through this here in just a second, so I don't want you to panic and look, oh my God, this is so much. This is so much. It really is not. It's a lot of words, but there really isn't all that much. Let me get my pointer out here and let's just kind of take a look. This was yesterday. That was your Canvas attendance that was due. And then this is the outlining APUSH online and ensuring 100% online attendance and accessibility. And I've got that now, so goal is accomplished. Let's talk specifically about tomorrow. Now, tomorrow, I'm going to send you a remind alert and say, hey, everybody, the module for Pearl Harbor has been loaded. And you'll go into the module and you'll open it up, and there's a YouTube lecture about Pearl Harbor. It's going to be about 20 minutes or so. And then I'll also have a downloadable PDF for you. You don't have to print anything at home. You're not required to take up printing paper or ink and print it all out. You can work with those documents simply by opening that PDF. And then I've got a small little context and thesis right there. And that small little context and thesis is going to be due on Canvas under micro writes Sunday night. So that's the only thing we're doing tomorrow. Tomorrow you're going to log in. You're going to see a small little lecture about Pearl Harbor, kind of getting America into the war. I'll have some videos, and we'll have an opportunity to kind of unpack the rationale behind Japan's bombing of Hawaii. And then you're going to develop, just like we have in class from the very beginning, analyzing the extent to which Japan dot, 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 dot. You'll simply generate a 4 or 5 sentence context and thesis, type it up on Canvas exactly like you did the attendance check in, and get that to me on Sunday night. Now, for whatever reason, if we get all the way to Sunday night and you haven't turned it in still, are you going to be penalized? No. You just simply say, Nesossi, I need another day. It's been a little tight, and get that turned in. But it's my hope that you can get at least before Sunday night a context and thesis turned in. And then on Thursday, when you look at the calendar, and I'm going to be posting this calendar on the website so you all have access to this calendar. This is not the only means by which you can see this calendar. You'll be able to see it on mrnesossi.com by later on this evening. And this topic here is looking at America mobilizing socially and economically. We're transitioning out of the interwar isolationism, and we're seeing the ramping up of industrialization. And I think there is so many incredible comparisons and continuity and changes to what is happening right now with the COVID-19 pandemic, in which the president is federalizing many of the, in fact, I think I misspoke. I don't think he's federalizing, but he is enacting uh, acts that will encourage the private sector to begin producing for the global war on this pandemic. And so we might be seeing a lot of comparison there. And again, I'll have a small little quick little YouTube touching base with you guys. It looks just like this. I'll be up in the screen. I'll have the PowerPoint. Hey, here's how we're transitioning. Got a little reading on the module. So as soon as you open up that module, you click on it, everything is going to be right there for you. And look at that. Nothing needs to be submitted with that. And then on Friday, we're going to have our Zoom meetings. So we got our first period, second period, fourth, sixth, and seventh at 9, 10, 11, 1, and 2. If you can't make your particular class period's time, what do you think my response is going to be? I'll wait. You're exactly right. No problem. Pop into another class period. Love to see you there. If you can't make any of the class periods because you don't have access to a device, not to worry. You can simply watch a taped version of that Zoom class, and that will be also in the forum on mrnesossi.com. The following week on Monday, we're going to be looking at key turning points during the Second World War. We're going to be talking about Midway in the Pacific, and we're going to be talking about Leyte Gulf in the Pacific, and of course the D-Day invasion in Europe and Battle of the Bulge. So we'll be seeing a lot of the trappings of the Italian and Northern European campaigns, as well as the Pacific. I'll follow that up with a small little touch base lecture with some great videos that we've got there, a little bit of module reading, and of course, look what you have to submit. Absolutely nothing. So all the way even through until Monday of next week, the only submission that you have is just this context and thesis on Japan's bombing of Pearl Harbor. And then on the 31st, the last day of March, on Tuesday, we're going to be analyzing the dropping of the atomic bomb on Japan. This will be a little bit more of a larger endeavor. We're going to have a longer kind of YouTube lecture because of the gravity of this particular situation. We are going to be analyzing primary source documents, and we're going to be generating a context and thesis, which guess what is going to be due on that Sunday night. So you've got from Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to get me a small contextualization and thesis analyzing the extent to which the bomb has been dropped on Japan. Alrighty, so April 1st, which is April Fool's Day, it is not a joke, it is real. We're going to be looking at a period 7 chronological review. I'm going to go back and just give a kind of a broad brush overview. If you can remember all the way back to progressivism and imperialism and Teddy Roosevelt and McKinley and those guys, we're going to walk up through that and World War I and the Roaring Twenties and Great Depression and New Deal. And so that's going to be a pretty big day in which we're just going to do a big blanket overview of period 7 with a lecture. And then I'll be encouraging you to get your period 7 investigation guide out, and we'll kind of walk through that together. But nothing is due. There's no submission, not to worry. And then we do have on Thursday, there is a bit to process on Thursday. I'm not going to have a lecture for you. I'm not going to really engage you at all that day. There's nothing for you to watch. That's a work day for you, self-timed. You're simply going to do a period 7 progress check on AP Classroom. It's only 39 multiple choice questions. And then you're going to be doing 1 SAQ on Canvas. So I'll be asking you to do a period 7 SAQ on on Canvas. Can you use other items while you're doing the SAQ? I'm going to encourage that you do, just because I can't control that. But by all means, you'll be turning that SAQ in through some plagiarism software. So please don't start Google searching stuff and copying and paste it in to turn it in, because I'll have to have a difficult conversation with you if I get back a substantially large return rate on your originality report through Turnitin. So I'd like to see your own writing on that. We're going to kind of get back into writing again. I'm slowly easing into. And then our Zoom meetings, of course, are going to be that Friday. So there's the second week of our online learning together. Again, I'm not expecting you to memorize this today during our discussion, just kind of giving you a broad brush overview. And then, of course, each day I'm going to be communicating with you each day. I'll be talking and saying, all right, here's what's coming up tomorrow. Here's what's coming up tomorrow. Remember, baby steps, baby steps, baby steps. You should be spending about 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes a day on this course. I think that's a fair assessment. But again, that's up to you as far as your engagement and what your stress levels are. If you feel like you want to do more, you could, of course, unpack more. Lastly, let's look at this final week. This gets us through the end of what we are scheduled for being out of school. My hope is that on that 13th, that following Monday, we're back at Tompkins face to face, high-fiving each other and doing handshakes. But as I'm watching that curve increasing, especially in the East Coast, I'm just concerned that might not be the case. But I'm going to think positively. This last week, we're going to be starting period 1 chronological review. You could see why it's been taking so long to get this information to you, because this has required a tremendous amount of undertaking and planning from your APUSH team in getting this ready. We got nothing to be submitted in the period 1 chronological review. And look at this. For the AP classroom, in fact, I'm not going to have my cursor down that far because it brings that box up. But if you look at the AP Classroom Period 1 progress check, it's only 15 multiple choice questions, and you can complete that by Sunday of the following week. 15 multiple choice questions, really. You can get that done. And again, I'm not going to have anything for you to do that Tuesday. Anytime you see AP Classroom and Canvas or AP Classroom and Canvas, those are processing days. You could do it at 7 in the morning. You could do it at 11:30 at night. Does not matter, whenever you want to curl up and get a good, nice cup of tea, of course, matcha green, and get this stuff knocked out. All right, I'm not going to waste any more of your time. You could read this on your own. Period 2 chronological review. There's the period 2 progress check with another SAQ on period 2, and then we have a Zoom meeting. Those Zoom meetings are going to be great because I do actually like that they've moved them to Friday. So that gives us kind of a chance to regroup at the end of the week, and I can hear from you and kind of see where you're stuck or have questions, or where you're going to be going on from here. So again, that calendar is going to be on the website and you can access it. And I'm going to be bombarding you with reminds every single day. So don't worry, you're definitely going to be informed. Let's wrap up. So for tomorrow, here's the expectation for tomorrow. I will send a remind alert out saying that the module in the form has been loaded. So if you're to go in there and look at the modules tonight, they won't be there because I'm still working on them. I've had to work feverishly around the clock. I'm sitting on my couch at 11:30 at night or midnight, putting together these kind of modified slides and switching everything around. And so I will send a remind out in mid-morning, maybe mid-afternoon, and say, hey, the module's been loaded for Pearl Harbor. Have at it. Go enjoy. And you'll click on it and watch the video of me, and we'll have a great time unpacking the underpinnings of Japan's attack on the United States. So you'll open it up and get to work. Again, submissions for that are going to be due Sunday at 11:59, giving you plenty of time to get that stuff submitted. But if you don't, again, just touch base with me and I will work around your schedule because I'm flexible. You're right, flexible. And I always welcome your questions on Remind. I also welcome your questions on the forum FAQ section. And in the midst of this whole process, if you need to touch base with me, I hope you know this by now. You've sent me a Remind alert. I've replied very, very quickly. My goal and the goal of all of your teachers is to be available to you during these school days. So we're working. It's a work day. I'm not at home. In the evening, late in the evening, of course, I'm watching my Netflix and I'm going out for the walks in the middle of the day and stuff. But we're here for you. I'm here for you. And so if you've got a question about something or want me to take a look at something, you can even send me something on Canvas and say, hey, Nesossi, can you read this and provide me with some feedback? And I will give you feedback and you can go back and rewrite something. I think that's great. This is a wonderful time. The 100 or zero rule that was in place in the classroom is no more, at least for now. And so I'll be happy to open up that dialogue. And I think Canvas is a great tool. I've learned how you could submit something, I give you feedback, and then you could resubmit it again. So I welcome those questions on Remind the Forum or the Zoom conference. So I'm excited. I hope you are too. This is a lot of information to throw at you, but we're just going to take it one step at a time. I just need you to be patient, hang in there with me, and know that we are going to get through this together. But what are your main priorities? Your health, your family, access to a device that you can all share without starting World War III in your house, and of course, having a good positive attitude and sticking with me. I look forward to that Zoom conference on Friday. That'll be fun. And if you want to get into a Zoom conference and get together with a few other people, I can send it out. We could have a small little tutorial session with students. I'm more than happy to do that. And so, hey, can you get together and have a tutorial session on this? I think it's fantastic. I'm here for you, and I'll be able to do that. But for the big Zoom conferences that are class-wide, those are only going to be on Friday. But I just want to make this as accessible for you as possible. Alrighty, my friends, thank you so much for your time period together. This has been, I think, for me, uh, less stressful because now I have a vision, I have a goal. And so I hope that is also less stressful for you now that we have a vision and that we have a goal. And so go on to the website, look at the updated calendar, wait for my remind tomorrow for the uploaded brand new module on Pearl Harbor. And let's just, for me, thinking about history and talking about history gets my mind off of this other stuff about the pandemic. And so I think you're chomping at the bit. I'm chomping at the bit too, and I'm so excited to have you on board. Thank you for great responses on previous fireside chats. Thank you for your humor, and thank you for being you. I'm so blessed and so privileged to be with you on this journey, and I'm excited to keep moving forward. So be well, be wise, and I look forward to seeing you in the coming days and weeks as we unpack history together. Nesossi out.